I now call back into session the August regular meeting of the City of High Point Planning and Zoning Commission. I ask the recording secretary to conduct a roll call vote of the commissioners that are in attendance this evening.
Commissioners, when I call your name, please answer present. Mr. Uzak.
Present.
Mr. Kirkman.
Present.
Ms. McGill.
Present.
Mr. Moore.
Present.
Mr. Morgan.
Present.
Mr. Venable.
Present.
Mr. Wheatley.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you have 7 members present.
Very well, we have a quorum. This is a continuation of the August 25th meeting. I want to acknowledge for the record that no public comments were received for the first item on the agenda, zoning map amendment 20-15. 2 public comments were received for zoning amendment 2016, which city staff will address when we move to the second item on the agenda. The commission will now deliberate and formulate its recommendation on the items heard this past Tuesday evening. Because this is a remote meeting, commission members need to announce their name when making comments or motions and seconds. Also, all votes made will be by roll call. First item tonight was zoning amendment 2015, a request to rezone about 1 acre from conditional use general business district to light industrial district. We concluded the public comment portion the other night, so the commissioners can jump right into deliberation, comments, or motion if they wish.
I'd like to make, Ray Wheatley, I'd like to make a motion to approve Amendment 2015 as presented.
Very well. Commissioner Wheatley has made a motion to approve this item as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Juzak has seconded that motion. Do all the commissioners understand the motion? Do they have any questions or any comments? Very well. I'll ask the recording secretary to conduct a roll call vote.
Commissioners, when I call your name, please answer yes or no in response to the motion to approve zoning map amendment 2015 as recommended by staff. Mr. Uzak.
Yes.
Mr. Kirkman.
Yes.
Ms. McGill.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Morgan.
Yes.
Mr. Venable.
Yes.
Mr. Wheatley.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you have 7 votes in favor of that motion.
Very well. Motion to recommend approval has been recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. In the meantime, we will need a consistency statement for this item.
I move, Ray Wheatley, I move that the commission adopt a statement that zoning map amendment 20-15 is consistent with the city's adopted policies guidance because the zoning is site within a transitional area of the city core city, west of commercial development along South Main Street and east of the railroad and more significant industrial development, which is supported by Objective 9 in the adopted land use plan. Furthermore, the request is reasonable and in the public interest because the requested LI district is the same district applied to the abutting property to the south on King Street.
Very well. Do we have a second?
Terry Venable, a second.
Consistency statement has been moved by Commissioner Wheatley, seconded by Commissioner Venable. Is there any discussion on the consistency statement? If not, I'll ask the recording secretary to conduct a roll call vote.
Commissioners, when I call your name, please answer yes or no in response to the motion to adopt the consistency statement as read by Mr. Wheatley. Mr. Uzak.
Yes.
Mr. Kirkman.
Yes.
Ms. McGill.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Morgan.
Yes.
Mr. Venable.
Yes.
Mr. Wheatley.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you have 7 votes in favor of that motion.
Very well. By a vote of 7-0, a consistency statement has been adopted. Again, this application has been favorably recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Final public hearing on this item is scheduled before the City Council on September 21st, beginning at 5:30 p.m. The next item on the agenda was zoning amendment 20-16. Because we did receive 2 public comments regarding this, I'm going to ask Mr. Shannon from the City of High Point to address those.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Herb Shannon, Senior Planner at the City of High Point Planning Department. There were 2 comments received. The first pertains to map number 4, and if you have your package, you look on page 42. That pertains to the Creekside at Belmead and Highland Ridge Apartment Complex. As staff had noted on the Tuesday evening meeting, that portion of that application, map 4, is being withdrawn. And the second comment from Mr. Clark off of West Ridge Drive, that pertains to map number 2 And if you look on page 31 of your packet, I had an opportunity to talk with Mr. Clark this afternoon. He had concerns that that area that is noted as CUR5 that was going to be developed for multifamily. I explained to him that the proposal is for that to be rezoned to residential single-family 3R3, which is the same zoning that governs his neighborhood, and that zoning would not permit any multifamily use. I also explained to him that with the construction of the Franklin Ridge Apartments, Green Valley Drive can't be extended, and there's also a stream back there, and that addressed his concerns.
Are there any questions for Mr. Shannon regarding those public comments? Would the commissioners like to deliberate on this matter? We will have to do this in two parts. We will have to have a motion and a second to withdraw map number 4. And then once that matter is settled, we'll move on to possible recommendation of the remainder. So I'll entertain a motion to withdraw.
I'll make a motion, Ray Wheatley, to remove map 4 from zoning amendment ZA 16.
Do we have a second?
Second. Thad Juzak.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Wheatley and seconded by Mr. Juzak to remove the zoning map number 4 from zoning map amendment 2016. If there are no questions or further comments on the motions, I'll ask the secretary to take a roll call vote.
Okay, Commissioners, when I call your name, please answer yes or no in response to the motion to withdraw map 4 from zoning map amendment 20-16. Mr. Uzak.
Yes.
Mr. Kirkman.
Yes.
Ms. McGill.
yes,
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Morgan.
Yes.
Mr. Venable.
Yes.
Mr. Wheatley.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you have 7 votes in favor of that motion.
Very good. The withdrawal of map 4 has been favorably recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission by a vote of 7-0. Now we will move to the actual request, zoning amendment 20-16. Public comments have been addressed by the city. Do the commissioners have anything to add? Questions, comments? If not, we can move to a motion and a second.
I move, this is Terry Venable, I move that zoning map amendment 20-16 be approved.
Second, Alex Moore.
Very good. I have a motion from Commissioner Venable to approve as presented by staff, noting that there was the earlier withdrawal, which was approved, and seconded by Commissioner Moore. Everyone understand the motion? Any questions about it? I'll ask the recording secretary to take a roll call vote.
Commissioners, when I call your name, please answer yes or no in response to the motion to approve zoning map amendment 20-16 as recommended by staff with the removal already made of map 4. Mr. Uzak.
Yes.
Mr. Kirkman.
Yes.
Ms. McGill.
yes,
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Morgan.
Yes.
Mr. Venable.
Yes.
Mr. Wheatley.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you have 7 votes in favor of that motion.
Very good. By a vote of 7-0, this application has been favorably recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. We will need a consistency statement for the record.
I move that the commission adopt a statement that zoning map amendment 20-16 is consistent with the city's adopted policy guidance because the proposed zoning map amendments are supported by the various land use designations for these areas as contained in the adopted land use plan. Furthermore, the request is reasonable and in the public interest because the amendments are needed to remove unneeded restrictions on the properties and to remove the conditional use zoning designation, which can no longer be used.
Do we have a second?
Terry Venable, a second.
Very good. Consistency statement has been moved by Commissioner Moore, seconded by Commissioner Venable. Is there any discussion on the consistency statement? Does everyone understand it? Very well. Recording secretary may take a roll call vote.
Commissioners, when I call your name, please answer yes or no in response to the motion to adopt the consistency statement for zoning map amendment 20-16 as read by Mr. Moore. Mr. Uzak.
Yes.
Mr. Kirkman.
Yes.
Ms. McGill.
yes,
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Morgan.
Yes.
Mr. Venable.
Yes.
Mr. Wheatley.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you have 7 votes in favor of that motion.
Very well. By a vote of 7-0, a consistency statement has been adopted. This application has been favorably recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission by a vote of 7-0. Final public hearing on this item is scheduled before the City Council on September 21st, beginning at 5:30 PM. Before we adjourn, is there any other business that we have? Anything else we need to discuss?
I have one question about the last staff report. It says ZA 16. It doesn't say zoning amendment 2016. I don't know if that matters. I read off of this, so I didn't do the.
That's a good point. We didn't have that the other night. It is on the sheet. Are we okay on this?
Okay.
Very good. Anything else? If not, I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. Ray Wheatley?
All right, Mr. Venable has seconded my motion to adjourn. Secretary can conduct a roll call vote.
Commissioners, when I call your name, please answer yes or no for the motion to adjourn the meeting. Mr. Uzak.
Yes.
Mr. Kirkman.
Yes.
Ms. McGill.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Morgan.
Yes.
Mr. Venable.
Yes.
Mr. Wheatley.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you have 7 votes in favor of the motion to adjourn.
By a vote of 7-0, we are adjourned.